basic mechanics of punching a hole. Really easy. And if you comprehend what this is, you shouldn't go wrong. So that's your material. You're going to come in with your tool, whatever shape tool yours is, and drive down. And you're just going to keep going down until you hit the bottom. You'll know when you hit the bottom because the slug will chill out and it won't get any thinner. This might take 1, 2, 3, 10 heats, however long it takes. On this 1/4 inch, it doesn't take very long at all. When you hit bottom, that will chill. Your tool will kick itself out. When it kicks itself out, you're going to have a little bit of a swell out on the backside like that, and this bit here will be polished. You flip it over, and you put your tool directly above it. At this point, it should be heading into the black range. So you want to be losing that candescence, very, very dark cherry, and then you use the principles that steel goes through its phase change and becomes brittle to shear out the slug. If you try and do this at yellow heat, it will not. It will just deform and push down. Okay? So, here we go. Good heat. Find your position, make a mark, and this is the tool we just made in the previous video. Keep your cool tool cool, your cool tool. Now, I'm not rushing this, there's no need for it. Every time you strike, turn the tool slightly. See that kicking out? Give it a couple more whacks. Flip it over, there's my shiny spot and my ever so slight pucker. It comes straight over the top of it. A good hearty crack. So, I'm pulling out right there. You can actually see where it's sheared. There's like a shoulder on there. So the slug is actually sheared out. So I can now go down to the bottom and clear it. Got my tool out. There's my slug. There's my hole. That's all there is to it. As long as you keep those base principles in. So hop, push down all the way. Hit the bottom, allow it to jump. If your slug is hot and your material is hot, take your tool and actually pick up water and drop it into the hole to actually chill it ever so slightly. Then you can flip it over. Once it is chilled, clear the slug, or shear the slug, then clear the slug. That's all there is. Nothing more to the basic mechanics of punching. And it doesn't matter what shape your tool is. That could be anything. And that tool, that slug will shear out as long as you have the negative of it on the backside. Because if you had like the barrel of monkeys, you'd have to have a negative of that, right? Anyway, practice it. It's a really handy skill set to have, and I would love to show you a quick demo of doing exactly the same thing but with a slot. Okay, that's a little half-inch slot. Right, cool. Alrighty. Little, I think this is like 3/4 by 8, something like that. Yeah, 3/4 by 8. We were actually using these for punching out the tines on forks. So, pretty fun project to do. I'm going to pop a hole in this bar. It kind of changes things when you put a slot rather than punched hole, a round punch, put a slot punch in there due to the amount of physical mass you get around the outside of a hole. And also, if this is 3/4 by 8, that means that essentially from here to here, and then from here to here, we have 1 inch and 1 inch. That gives us 2 inches in circumference on the hole, which give or take is 3/4 of an inch round, right? Which will drift out really well to 1 inch. But nothing changes. Come in, find your position, make sure you're good and centered, good whack. About there. Surface area though, this is pretty big. If you think about it, it's 3/4 by 8. So that's 6. Six square eighths. There we go. Oh, got a little off on that. Come back in. There it is. There we go. Nice little hole. Good solid slug. Get that out of the way. Go. That will drift out really, really easy to 1 inch, where that one won't so much. But we already know that that one drifts out to 3/4 inch fairly well, but you lose the edge thickness. This one will drift out to 3/4 inch and still keep that edge thickness. Shall I do that?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, totally.
Alright, do it.
Do it.
So I'm going to run this tool in first, just kind of bump out the hole to a sufficient size that I can get that one in. I also have a bunch of other like little weird tools for this kind of stuff. I have that little one for when you want to poke a hole and stretch it out to 1/2 inch. I have this little variance. This is a good variance actually, because this is a small round, grade 8 out to about 1/2 inch octagonal-ish. So I'll probably use that one. Also have this one. Same thing. Actually, this is a better option. You don't want sharp corners when you're going from a straight to a round, because those sharp corners will invariably deform the hole. Like this one will actually make a little round within the slot. So when you stretch out the hole, if you don't fully stretch it, you'll have a round hole where, or an egg-shaped hole with these like little bunny ears on it, like that. So, just things to think about. Use this one. Deburr it while and it's what, 1/2 inch, maybe a little bit over, by 1/8 inch tip. So that should go into the hole pretty well. Let's start off over the Pritchell hole. Probably should go from the other side. I'm in about the center. So that's 1/2 inch. You can see it's not fully occupied, but look at the thickness of that wall. So I'm going to bump it up to 3/4 inch now. Cool your tools off. Don't put yourself in a situation where you're not sure whether a tool is cool. and then go grab a hold of the wretched thing and burn your hand and make your day miserable. It really does slow down one's productivity. Same with that thing. I'll burn the heck out of it. Also stands. Never move a stand like this. There's a reason it says hot on it, it's to remind me. In the middle of things you forget what you're doing, or you forget about all the peripheral stuff, and you go make a small life-altering decision that puts you out of work for a week or two or life. It's not worth it. Alright. Here we go. Stretch it out just a wee bit more on that. I'm going to flip it over so I don't get too much drag. Nice. I'm going to take one more heat, clear it. Got a nice shiny line there. You can actually see, you know, I was talking about that cavitation thing. You can see how much surface contact it has, and it'll kind of self-polish over time. But that scale is quite considerably harder than the steel itself. It kind of acts as a, I suppose, like a dry lubricant almost. Talking of dry lubricant, graphite, love it. Thought I was looking for graphite and there was all these like fancy supplies for graphite, and then I found this and I think that that is fabulous. Yeah, seed slick. It's apparently used for putting on seed when one is hopper planting, because apparently that graphite doesn't affect the growing of the seed, also doesn't contaminate the earth, but seriously improves one's lubrication against steel parts, because millions and millions of little husky seeds will actually wear the heck out of steel over time. But that, stick it on your drift, mix it with a little bit of soap, and you've got a pretty good lube for your tool. It's getting worse. Alright, send this through the rest of the way. Good. And I'm going to pass it through one more time from the back side, or what was previously the top side. Look at that. So, you know, principle being that is a really good way to make a hole where you have thicker walls around the outside. Now you do have some weird mathematics that happen, because if you do a test on a test bar, what just happened there? Did the bar get longer? Did it get shorter? These are all things that occur. It shouldn't have changed much, because we know that we punched a 3/4 inch slot to begin with. We've then drifted it out to 3/4 inches round, right? Which means that this spot here and this spot here, which is the top and bottom of my 3/4 inch, essentially haven't moved. So it should still be exactly the same length. But if I took this out to 1 inch, that has then increased by a 1/16 and a 1/16 either end, right? Which means that my bar has grown by 1/8 of an inch. You do that 3 times per foot because you're making a railing, and you're going to have 4-inch centers, so that means 3 times per foot, and you have gained a whole heck of a lot of distance by the time you get to a 6-foot panel. So, little things to think about. There you go. basic mechanics. Go and make some.